Okay, welcome everyone. This is a very special shiur. It's called 7 Things You Could Do on Purim to Elevate and Revolutionize Your Purim. Everyone's doing Purim, but you want to make sure you do the following 7 things to have an extra special Purim and do the mitzvahs hayom in the best possible way. Number 1, we know that there is a Machlokas Rishonim, whether mitzvahs tzrichos kavana or not. The psak of the Shulchan Aruch is a mitzvahs tzrichos kavana. Whether this applies to D'Rabbanans is also a machlekes. So even though we paskin mitzvahs d'oraisa need kavana, mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, Magen Avram says do not need kavana, Pri Megadim says they do. The Mishnah Berurah goes like the Pri Megadim. However, when it comes to the mitzvahs on Purim, even the lenient opinion may say that mitzvahs will need kavana because the mitzvahs of Purim are not d'Rabbanan. They're divrei Kabbalah. They're midivrei Nevi'im, and divrei Kabbalah kedivrei Torah damyan. That's why if you are masupik, if you did the mitzvahs of Purim, you need to do them again because they have a din of a d'oraisa. Except for the laning at night, which according to many is only midrabanan. But the laning during the day is definitely midivrei Nevi'im, and we would say safek divrei Nevi'im l'chumra. Therefore, the first thing you could do to enhance your Purim is there are going to be 4 main mitzvahs that you're mekayim. Before each mitzvah, before the Megillah at the night, you should think, I have kavana to mekayim the mitzvah of Mikra Megillah. Before the Megillah of the day, you should think, I have kavana to mekayim the mitzvah of Mikra Megillah. Before you give Mishloach Manos, you should have kavana to mekayim the mitzvah of Mishloach Manos. Before Matanos Le'Avyonim, you should have kavana to mekayim the mitzvah of Matanos Avyonim. And before Sudas Purim, you should have kavana to mekayim the mitzvah of Sudas Purim. Many people will remember to have kavana, but they'll forget for the Suda. The Suda also, it's worthwhile and important to have kavana. In the Sefer Kasher Tzima Hashem, he also brings that before you give Matanos Avyonim, you could have kavana to mekayim the mitzvah of tzedakah. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, the mitzvah of Mikra Megillah is not easy to fulfill, and that is because if you're listening to the Megillah from someone else, then you need to be attentive the whole time. There's a reason why, even though B'roi Am Hajas Melech, when people bench, everyone benches themselves. The reason is because we say it's impossible for a person to be mechavein, to listen to someone else's entire benching. Likely his mind will wander, and therefore we say he should do it himself. So the question is, what is the halacha if you listen to someone else read the Megillah and your mind wanders? Will you be yotzei? Many poskim, if not most poskim, say you will not be yotzei if you are spaced out during the listening of the Megillah. So what is the eitzah to ensure you fulfill the mitzvah? Rav Shmuel Felder, a posik in Lakewood, brings down from other poskim that if you are confident that you followed along each and every word, then you'll be yotzei. Therefore, he recommends that you point inside to each word. This way, even if you get distracted, but if you have enough focus that you are following along each word, you will be yotzei. So here's another way to enhance your Purim. Either point inside, or at least be confident that you're following with your eyes each word as it's being said. This way, you'll know you fulfilled the mitzvah properly. That is number 2. Number 3, the Chassam Sofer brings something he heard from his Rebbe, actually in our humble Sefer, Maggid Harakiah on Purim, and in the English Art Scroll. In the opening of both Svarim, we bring down from the Drushim Agadas Chassam Sofer that he has a tradition from his Rebbe Reb Mendel Lilig, who is a Rav in Frankfurt am Main, who has a tradition from his Rebbe, the Shev Yaakov, that anyone who learns Torah between the Megillah of the night and the Megillah of the day is muftach loy shehu ben olam haba. So you might want to do that. You might want to make sure that you have a seder of limud between the Megillah of the night and the Megillah of the day. There is such a havtacha. You are vouchsafed to be a ben olam haba. Okay, that is number 3. Number 4, the Rambam writes that it's better to spend money on Matanas of Yoinim than on any of the other mitzvahs. And therefore, the Rambam recommends that the mitzvah that you dedicate yourself most to and invest in most is the mitzvah of Matanas of Yoinim. The Rambam says, Ein lecha mitzvah mefayara ela l'sameach leiv ha'aniyim v'leiv ha'imlalim, and by doing so you're doimet to the Shechina. So therefore the focus of Purim should be to uplift the hearts of the downtrodden. Whether that means people who are poor and giving them money, whether that means people who are lonely and bringing them to your Suda. The main mitzvah of Purim is to make people who are down happy, people who are afflicted, some people who are oppressed, depressed, sad. That's the main mitzvah of Purim. And with all the other mitzvahs, one should not overlook the most important mitzvah, which is Matanas of Yoinim. But the yisoid of Matanas of Yoinim is to l'sameach leiv ha'aniyim v'ha'imlalim, to the point where the Baal Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says that the reason for Shalach Manas, it's a decoy, so that nobody should be embarrassed to take Matanas of Yoinim, because everyone's getting stuff on this day. So that's why it first says Mishloach Manos and then Matanas of Yoinim. Why would it say Mishloach Manos first? Matanas of Yoinim is a more important mitzvah. So the Baal Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says it's a setup. Now that everyone's getting Mishloach Manos, you can be Mekayim the mitzvah Matanas of Yoinim in the best possible way. Okay. Now, here's an interesting and nice hidur in the mitzvah of Mishloach Manos. You only have to give one Mishloach Manos. The best Mishloach Manos you could give are rolls and salami. Just saying. That's the best. It might be such a good Shalach Manos that people might eat it before Purim, but that's not your problem. You did your part. So the question is, should you give it yourself or should you do it through a shliach? Me'ikar hadin, you give it yourself. Me'ikar hadin, you give it yourself. But many are aware there is an opinion, which actually the Shas Tshuvas Binyan Tzion of the Aruch LaNer brings the idea that maybe you need to send it through a shliach. He actually ultimately falls off of it, but the Mishnah Berurah brings it down as a hidur. So if you have extra time, one of the Mishloach Manos that you give, because most people end up giving more than one, ask somebody to give it for you. And it could be even a family, it could be anybody. They could act as your agent, and one Mishloach Manos to give with a shliach, and that is a hidur in the mitzvah of Mishloach Manos. That is number 5. Number 6. We all know the Ramah says to start Sudas Purim with Divrei Torah. You should learn a little bit before Sudas Purim. The remez is La'ihudim Haisa Oira is Torah, and then V'simcha. So we also know there's an inyan to start learning Hilchos Pesach on Purim. And we always mention, Rav Shlomo Kluger says you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So you start the Sudas Purim with Hilchos Pesach, and that is a way to elevate your Suda. It's a way to start preparing for Pesach. Hilchos Pesach is really the culmination of Mechias Amalek, and that is a way to enhance Limud Torah and Sudas Purim. And finally, one last hidur. People want to know, do you need to wash for Sudas Purim? Do you need to eat meat? The answer is yes and yes. The Magen Avram says in Simon Tavrei Tzadik Yisrael Test, we don't find you have to eat bread on Purim. However, the Taz, Simon Tavrei Tzadik Gimel Katan Beis, brings you do have to eat wash on Purim. And the Aruch HaShulchan paskins that if you don't wash on Purim, lo yatsa, ein mishteh b'lo lechem. So number 1, you need to wash. You need to wash. Number 2, do you need to eat meat? Yes, you need to eat meat. The Shulchan Aruch paskins that there are those who say that an oinein is allowed to eat meat on Purim and is allowed to drink wine. Why? Because his asay de yachid will not push off the asay de rabim de oiraisa to be misameach on Purim. So you see the Shulchan Aruch paskins, the mitzvahs of Purim are the oiraisa. Included in that is eating meat. So you say, but this year the Purim Suda is very early. Pal, learn how to eat meat before Chatzos. You'll get used to it, okay? Now, just as an aside, when should you have the Purim Suda? Just in a nutshell, in general, one is supposed to avoid an excessive meal on Friday because of Kavod Shabbos. However, the Rama paskins in Hilchos Shabbos that a Sudas mitzvah, that Zman is Erev Shabbos, you're allowed to have Erev Shabbos at any time, even later in the day. However, in Hilchos Purim, the Rama says that ideally one should have the Sudas Purim earlier in the day. Mishnah Berurah says before Chatzos. So you want to wash before Chatzos. L'chadchila, you should have the Purim Suda before Chatzos. You can't do it by Chatzos, then you should at least have it before the 10th hour. The option of purest mappa umakadesh is highly questionable. There are many, many problems. One of them being that you may not be able to say al anisim in Berchas Hamazon. What kind of Sudas Purim is it where you can't make an al anisim in Berchas Hamazon? In any event, ideally Sudas Purim should be before Chatzos. So, just to review these 7 points, one should have specific kavana before all the mitzvahs hayom. When listening to the Megillah, you want to make sure you're following every word and your mind doesn't wander. The inyan of learning between the two Megillahs. Number 4, the main focus is to be mesameach leiv ha'amlalim. There is a hiddur in Mishloach Manos to do one through a shliach. Number 6, to start the Purim Suda with Hilchos Pesach. And number 7, for your Purim Suda, you want to wash and eat meat. Now let me end off by telling you the most important halacha on Purim that gets overlooked. And I would really like to restore this halacha to its former glory. The Rama says that you should eat seeds on Purim. It's Zecher LeDaniel, who ate seeds in Bavel. And I always wonder, Daniel is such an important part of Purim, and nobody gives him the proper attention. I can't explain why, but I personally feel that remembering Daniel is not given enough attention on Purim. That's why I like to eat a lot of seeds on Purim. You want to know what seeds are? The Kloisenberger Rebbe says all vegetables are considered seeds. So once a year, I'm very makbid to eat a lot of vegetables. One day a year, I'm makbid to have a lot of vegetables. Anyway, Afreil Purim, everyone. Bracha v'atzlacha.